Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Stranger Days After Dark for the motherfucking 19th of January 2019. Obviously, this episode is my end of the week spectacular where I kind of say whatever the fuck I feel like, and it's going over stories that YouTube would otherwise have you not know about, at least in terms of incentive via monetization, which is why I save it to the end of the week when hopefully the mods are asleep and we can talk about some weird, crazy shit going on in this fucked up world of ours. As always, this particular show is brought to you by you, the people watching it, who have decided to make it this far into the week of my content, and for that I am greatly fucking appreciative. And there is a great lineup tonight. There is some wild stuff here, stuff you're probably going to shake your head at, stuff I definitely shook my damn head at. And as always, if you want to submit crazy ass stories to me, you can always do so via social media like Facebook groups, or joining my Discord. Links for all that are in the video description. There's a lot of craziness in the week that I don't get to, that I don't see. So if there's something that you're like, Matt, oh my God, this shit be cray-cray, send it my way. That's a terrible fucking rhyme, and I apologize for that. Pretty sure that line cost me a few subscribers already, and that's, you know what? That's okay. That's okay. I'm going to make some bad jokes and hopefully some good ones. But first things first, if you guys want to help support the video, please throw on that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're new. If you found these videos entertaining, help the channel out that way. But first things first, let's talk about a woman in New York City who is attempting, in essence, to try and Me Too a restaurant, because this NYC restaurant reportedly forbids solo women from sitting at the bar over hooker concerns. That right, folks. That's right. A bar in New York City is like, solo women alone at the bar. Maybe not a good idea. Maybe they hooking, and maybe we need to make sure this isn't the thing. We don't want to get Vice coming in here and busting up our shit. So let's act like Saudi Arabia and forbid all women from sitting at the bar by themselves, because apparently one bad egg has ruined it for everyone. Now, it says here that a female creative executive claims that management at a star-studded restaurant in New York City recently forbade her from eating alone at their bar over hooker concerns, as the establishment allegedly tries to crack down on the free-range escorts who linger at the swanky eatery in hopes of hunting prey. See, this is just another example as to why I say, and I think many of you out there will agree, legalize prostitution, regulate it, tax it. It's a whole new market, folks. It's already happening underneath all of the red tape and the regulations and all of the things that you can't do in regards to selling your body. Oh, I can sell a CD on the fucking street corner, but God forbid I sell my pussy for cash. Right? Am I the only one that says legalized prostitution should be the way of the future? And of course, I'm not saying that because I want to partake in that. I'm really pointing out the fact that it's simply just a good way for someone to earn some extra money on the weekends. I could just imagine Airbnb for your cooter. Anyway, stay overnight. Watch out for the crabs. Anyway, on January 15th, Clementine Crawford published her side of a story in the essay called "The Night I Was Mistaken for a Call Girl" on the UK-based site Drugstore Culture. Crawford has long split her time between London and New York for her job at the branding firm Finch and Partners, and identifies as someone of a regular at Nello during her trips to the Big Apple. And the woman's not unattractive, she's an attractive woman. I don't know if I saw her sitting alone at a bar, I would assume she was a hooker. But then again, stranger things have happened. Now, she goes on to say here, in general, I'm not someone who seeks out axes to grind. It goes on to say here, in general, I'm not someone who seeks out axes to grind, but this really was testing my limits, she wrote. After further investigation, it transpired that the owner had ordered a crackdown on hookers in the free-range escorts who roamed the Upper East Side, hunting prey in this establishment. I assumed management had decided that upscale escorts working the bar lowered the tone of the place and would be less obvious if escorted behind a table. You have to love it. You have to love it. You have to. I think at this point, have to love it. That she's like, I love the terminology she uses here. Free range escorts, right? Like they ain't got no pimp. I guarantee you they got someone. There's a service. There's a pimp. All right, there's always a line of control. Anyway, she goes on to say here, at first I was incensed. Not because I'm judgmental about the world's oldest profession, but because this treatment struck me as outright discrimination. They had classified me, marginalized me, relegated me to the corner by the loos simply because I was an unaccompanied woman, she opined. And you know what? Here's the deal with that. I'm going to kind of agree with her to an extent, to be honest with you. And the reason for that is it feels kind of weird. Now, she does go on to say that she confronted the owner of the establishment. He basically put his foot down like, my business, my rules. You don't like it, kick rocks, basically. And then she was like, well, I'm going to go write about this on the internet. She didn't name the restaurant by name, but they figured it out and they reached out and then no one responded. But still, what you have here is a woman who was booted from the bar to a table because they didn't want anyone to assume she was a hooker, which tells me that this problem is probably more prevalent than they want to let on. Not that the place is crawling with hookers, you know, free range prostitutes, so to speak, but that they have maybe had a run-in or two with them. And they decided that it's for the best that if single unaccompanied women are at the bar, it could set a negative tone for the business. I don't agree with that. I think it's stupid, to be honest with you. I think it's really fucking stupid to do. But I can see why she would be upset, considering the fact that she watches a man went and did it, right? So she was all like, in the age of Me Too. It's like, oh my God. What she should be saying, Miss Crawford, is that you want to, you know, you're pushing for the lobbying of legalized prostitution. So then a situation like that would no longer occur. Oh, okay, prostitution is legal. Then you know what? There's going to be ads and billboards everywhere. So it's going to be perfectly fucking fine. But no. She had to do what all people do on the internet these days, is go on and anonymously complain. Because quite frankly, it's probably what a lot of us are only good for. And speaking of this next story here, this is one, as we can see from the title, is going to get a little fucking weird. It's going to get a little fucking weird. Because apparently science is being called into, you know, the guy's trying to use science as a defense here. So let's find out, shall we? A 33-year-old man from upstate New York who is facing sexual assault charges claimed it was his clothing that got an 11-year-old girl pregnant. Right, it was his clothing. Sure. I mean, that happens, right? That's a thing, right? Clothing has gotten somebody pregnant before. It's like, oh no, she tripped, she fell, landed on my clothing. Somehow there was semen on it. Now she's pregnant. Womp, 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 womp. After a DNA test determined that Robert Cronin was the baby's father, Cronin didn't dispute the results, but insisted he never had sex with the child. Right. This is the Chewbacca defense. This really is the Chewbacca defense. Saying, I don't want to be known for a crime I didn't commit. Cronin claimed the girl with whom he was acquainted became pregnant after coming in contact. Really? You had to use that particular line right there. He became pregnant after coming in contact with clothing he had used while masturbating. This is one of the reasons why I do disagree with Adam Conover when it comes to the notion that flushable wipes are a scam. No, flushable wipes, keeping your cock clean since I don't know when the hell they were invented. It's like a wet nap for your dick. The point is, come on. First and foremost, this dude probably had sex with an 11-year-old, and that is absolutely terrible. And the guys should be facing sexual assault charges. Let's be fair. Nothing about this is funny, but also his entire explanation for it is funny. There's no better way to put it. Now, he says here that he realizes his story may be difficult for some to understand, but said that the police who arrested him were just lacking scientific knowledge. That's right, folks. Forensics, DNA testing, that were able to determine that he is the father of an 11-year-old baby. Because that's not creepy at all, right? Not at all. Not one bit. Right. So science determined through DNA that he's this child's father, to which he doesn't dispute that. But they don't have the scientific knowledge to figure out how this specific situation came to be. Now, police I don't even want to fucking try to pronounce that goddamn name, about 20 miles northeast of Albany, New York, arrested and charged him with endangering the welfare of a child and felony predatory sexual assault against a child younger than 13. Cronin, who has 5 children with his fiancée, is being held at, what's up with these fucking words? Anyway, this county jail without bail. The girl gave birth recently, and both she and the baby are being safely cared for. Well, that's good. But let's be fair here. Let's be realistic here. There's no fucking way. There's literally no fucking way this dude his excuse is going to hold weight. Now, for the sake of just arguing the other side for a quick moment, if I recall correctly, in what I remember learning in like sex ed class way back in the day, semen can live for up to 3 days. So by this dude's logic, he had a pair of some clothing that he nutted into. She then took it, inserted it in herself, I guess, and then became pregnant. I mean, you know what? It's just not believable. I'm sorry. Like I'm trying to think of like the defense attorney. Like, how would a defense attorney defend this? I mean, but we have heard stories, by the way. We have heard stories where, women have pulled condoms out of trash, turned them inside out, or squeezed out the love juice, turned it inside out as an attempt to get pregnant. Those stories have been told. I don't know if those are urban legends or if that's just something that men say to one another in order to make sure this shit doesn't happen. Always keep a jar full of vinegar next to your toilet when you fuck a random broad and pour some vinegar in the condom. That way she can't reuse your sperm. I've heard stuff like that too, right? Old wives' tales about how to kill cum quick, how to get natural spermicide, I guess. The point is, I don't think that argument is going to hold up in a court of law. I don't think this dude is going to walk away from this by trying to use the Chewbacca defense that she, collected his juice and got her pregnant. I don't believe that. I just don't believe that at all. But at the same time, if that happens to be the actual story, I'm going to be dumbfounded. But I honestly would argue that no jury in the world is going to believe him. So if this is his story, then he is going to be the next, character in a Lemony Snicket novel, right? So jumping over to another part of the world, this isn't necessarily a fucked up story. It's actually a really cool story because it's good to report that suicides in Japan are down for the 9th straight year to a 37-year low in 2018. We always hear about this in regards to Japan. I mean, if you look at the image I have on the screen right now, it's Mount Fuji. That's for a reason. Keep Logan Paul away from it. Right? It's like you always hear about the Japanese are very prone to suicide. They're very, very, very prone to suicide there. It's like, oh, you have failed your math test. You must commit seppuku with this frisbee. Like, it's a horrible accent. I apologize for cultural appropriation, but the point is, we hear about that. That is the idea that has been presented. You will dishonor this family. Go out back and off yourself. Like, you hear about that a lot. At least it's not happening anymore. In fact, it says here, the number of suicides in Japan dropped in 3.4% from a year earlier to 20,598 in 2018, down for the 9th year and the lowest in 37 years amid economic recovery, preliminary data by the National Police Agency showed. Okay, so what we're saying here is that with an economic recovery, with economic growth, comes fewer suicides. I would argue that would make some sense, right? Some sociological sense. I get that. Now it says here, the number of suicides per 100,000 fell to just 16.3, a record low since the survey began in 1978. But an increase of girls aged 19 or younger who killed themselves raised concern. So what may be possibly afflicting girls 19 or younger in Japan to killing themselves? I don't know. I mean, we have heard that birth rates are an issue in Japan. Right? There is the NEAT lifestyle, or as they call themselves in Japan, the herbivore man. NEAT is more of an American slang. But the herbivore man are men who do not want to date, do not want to have wives, do not want to have children. They just want to play video games and fuck their waifu pillow, right? Neat life. It's a very, very solo existence. So maybe that's something to do with it. I don't know. I'm speculating here. Anyway, it says here that the officials of Health, Labor, and Welfare Ministry who analyzed the data attributed the decrease in economic recovery and efforts by local communities to prevent suicide. The government aims to bring down suicide figure to below 13 per 100,000 people to match the levels of the United States and Germany. Well, that's good. That's good that they're actually taking an opportunity to try and solve the problem, figure out maybe where the problem lies, provide counseling, therefore do away with the stigma, right? That fucking stigma on mental health. Why is it that we in the United States specifically, when you talk about going and seeing a psychiatrist or going and seeing a therapist or a counselor or trying to get some help mentally, it's always looked at as a negative thing. Oh, that person's in counseling. Clearly, they're going to go shoot up a school. No, you fucking dim-witted asshole. It's because people need help. They get thoughts and they get worked up over stuff and they don't know how to deal with it, or they can't deal with it in a productive enough manner. So it's good that they're doing that there. Now, it does say here that the total number of suicides in 2018 fell 723 from the previous year to come below the 21,000 mark for the first time since 1981. Wow, that's still crazy to think, though, that in Japan, 21,000 people nearly killed themselves every single year. Over until 2018. So over 20,000 people a year commit suicide in Japan at a rate of 16.3 to 100,000. So if you extrapolate just the numbers, that's a lot of people in Japan. That's a lot of fucking people in Japan. That's a goddamn. That's anyway, I'm just saying. That's 163 people per million. It's a small number, but goddamn. But this is where it's interesting, because this is fascinating. Following the 2017 serial murder case in Zama near Tokyo, in which teens and those in their 20s who expressed suicidal thoughts on Twitter fell victim, the government has been stepping up in counseling service via social networks for vulnerable youths. So think about this. They've been upping the counseling because there was a serial killer who was trolling Twitter, trying to find out who was suicidal and then going and killing them to give them what they want. So when they're like, ooh, that's bad, maybe we should up our game on this particular case to keep there from being a copycat and to keep people out there from talking about killing themselves on Twitter. That's a good thing, right? That's fucking crazy. That's also something I feel which would be a movie that would be made in Japan and then remade here in the States starring, I don't know, fucking Miley Cyrus or something. Anyway, guys, so right now we have ourselves a bit of a situation in the United States. And since most of my audience is from the United States, you all know what the fuck I'm talking about. The government is shut down officially for 4 weeks, the longest shutdown in U.S. history with no particular end in sight, no compromise from either the Democrats or the Republicans, and it's a situation that is finding a lot of people just at wit's end. And what do you do when you're stressed out? What do you do when you are just unable to just relax? You just need to get a little bit of that release. What do you fucking do? You head to Pornhub. You do? It's okay. You could admit the masturbating. Not to me. I don't need to hear about your fucking details and shit. But admit it to yourself. You do it. You jerk off. You wank the one-eyed monster. You double-click your mouse. You go deep-sea diving. You do whatever it takes. But according to Pornhub here, it says reports spike in DC porn viewership during government shutdown. If I was a government employee, I probably would be enjoying this time to myself too. Right? Kids are in school. No one's at home. You don't got to work because you don't got no money, so you can't go out anywhere. So what do? You sit at home and you beat off. Thanks, Pornhub. You beautiful bastards. Anyway, it says here, Pornhub is reporting a spike in its traffic from the district during a government shutdown, according to its analytic team. Now, we have to understand here is Pornhub and its analytics are amazing. They're so much fun. Saying here, the Pornhub Insights team said its statisticians noticed an increase in porn viewership and a shift in the hours in which people are watching porn in Washington, D.C. Because let's face it, after a long day of legislation, you still want to go home and nut. You know, I think it's just one of those things. Now it goes, according to Pornhub, its viewership is up more than 6% in the district compared to the pre-shutdown average. That's a fair amount, because we know there's a lot of porn that goes on and a lot of porn watching that happens, and up 6% during midday stuff. So non-essential employees, they're at home, emptying their guns, so to speak. Now, this graph here shows us the government shutdown insights and the percentage change in Washington, D.C. hourly traffic compared to pre-shutdown average. So as we can see here, there is a spike around 1 a.m. in the morning to also 10 p.m. to around 1 a.m. And then it also drops off in the working hours of the morning from 8 until 11, spikes again at 4, drops back down at 1, and then starts to make its way back up. Oh, you got to love it. You have got to love it. A 6.32% daily increase. These people are stressed. These people are really, really fucking stressed, right? These people are super stressed. And how do they relieve themselves? Well, they go to your friendly neighborhood Pornhub. Now, speaking of ejaculation, and speaking of dealing with what comes from that, right? We have a situation here where a man is treated in hospital after injecting himself with his own semen. Now, at first, I thought this was fake news. At first, I thought this was BS. I thought it was crap. It's been reported by a lot of places. Apparently, this dude really did inject himself with semen because, that's logical. Saying here that a 33-year-old man required medical treatment at a Dublin hospital after repeatedly injecting himself with his own semen in an unusual attempt to treat his long-standing lower back pain. Look, dude, get a pillow, right? If you got lower back pain, get a pillow that, it helps out your butt. All right. Injecting your own semen into your body is not a saline solution. I mean, sure. Cum is water soluble, but I mean, still at the same time. Now, the man developed a abscess on his right arm where he had been injecting himself on a monthly basis for a year and a half. A radiograph also revealed emphysema and edema, excess watery fluid under the skin. An intravenous antimicrobial drip was to treat the problems was started immediately, but he opted to discharge himself without allowing doctors to make an incision to drain the local collection. So this dude has been subsequently recycling bodily fluids as a way to deal with his lower back pain. For the love of God, where did he come up with that idea? Is it something he saw with Dr. Oz? Was he on Reddit late one Saturday night and happened to read a no sleep post or something and thought it was medically sound advice? Who knows? Because even he never provided an answer. The patient had presented in hospital complaining of sudden and severe lower back pain. He said he had lifted a heavy object 3 days before, after which his symptoms worsened. A physical examination of his upper and lower limbs identified small red papule on his right arm. He disclosed at this stage that he'd been injecting his own semen as an innovative method of treating back pain. Why? How? You have lower back pain, so you're giving you're coming in a syringe, and then injecting that into your body. Explain that to me. Now, he devised this cure independently of any medical advice and revealed that he injected 1 monthly dose of semen for 18 consecutive months using a hypodermic needle that he bought on the internet. So you can buy anything on the internet, but you can buy hypodermic needles at the store. Why that? Maybe in Ireland it's a little bit different. I have no idea. He went to like the Silk Road website to buy hypodermic needles. Maybe. Now the red area spread down his arm and hardened around the entry wound over the course of the next 24 hours. Okay. So he was just injured. He was whatever. And then he went to the hospital and they're like, what'd you do here? And he's like, I filled my arm with my cum. 1 monthly dose. It lasts 18 months. Just filling it with my cum. I just want to know, if the doctor's first question, just beyond the complete shock of what they're learning, was did it help? I'm guessing not if he did it for 18 months, but then again, it could have been a long treatment. I just want to know, they don't explain it in this article, but I just want to know why this guy would do that. Why this guy would sit there and do this to himself. Why he thinks that injecting his own nutter butter into his body would alleviate back pain. I mean, did he think to himself, I masturbate. When I ejaculate, I feel good. What comes out of me must be positive. So I must re-inject it into my body. Waste not, want not. That's all I can really kind of figure around that one, guys, is it's a waste not, want not situation. God damn it, dude, Tylenol. Actually, for lower back pain inflammation, you're going to want ibuprofen. All right, over the counter, non-lethal, and you're not, neither is injecting cum in your own body, I guess, but still, I mean, porn stars drink it all the time, so I mean, it's really, I don't know. I wanted to end it with this particular story because I just, Don't fucking know. Okay, guys, that has been Stranger Days After Dark for the for this week. I literally have no fucking idea what the hell some of these stories are. These are some crazy shit. We live in a weird, wild, fucked up world. And if you come across any stories like this that you want to share with me, feel free to come over to my Facebook group, join up and post them there, or you can go on to my Discord and hit me up there. My Twitter will be up and running again here sometime soon. At least for just general communication. But if you want to get more up-to-date stuff, definitely follow me at those places. Again, thank you guys so much for getting this far in the video. Be sure to, if you made it this far, go ahead and type in, it's not, type in semen in the chat so I know. That way I know you guys at least made it to the last crazy story of the night. And I'll see you next week for another episode of Stranger Days After Dark. Be sure to check out Stranger Days, an actual podcast, which will be premiering live Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and of course clipped out through the rest of the day. So I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great one, and peace out.